All right, we're ready to get going here. So let's.
Do you want me to introduce myself too?
Yeah.
Or?
So let's start with your story. First of all, your name and your position.
Okay. My name is Roger Bohl. I'm the current president of the Milwaukee Accordion Club, and I've been the president for approximately 10 years. I started taking accordion lessons when I was 10 years old, and I've been playing ever since. I talked to a lot of people that were in my position back in the 50s that took accordion lessons, and then they put it down when guitars got, or they got into high school and stuff. But I never put the accordion down. I've been playing probably 65 years. I got in my first band in the late 60s. I was in that band for about 10 years, and of course it was a wedding band, which the accordion was the mainstay of wedding bands back then. And in 1980, I formed my own band with a brother-in-law and a cousin, and we were called the Kinsman Trio because we were all related. And when my brother-in-law retired, I switched the name over to the Roger Bohl Band because I'm very well known in the Milwaukee area, and people relate Roger Bohl with playing all kinds of music in the Milwaukee area.
All right. How did you become involved in the accordion club, and what motivated you to take the role of president?
I started going to the Milwaukee Accordion Club meetings probably in the late 90s, and I used to take my mother there because I thank my parents for actually giving me the accordion lessons and putting me in the position I am now. And so as my mother aged, for something to do, I'd go visit her once a week anyway, and heard about the Milwaukee Accordion Club and said, let's go listen to some accordion music. And so back then I was just a member of the audience with my mother and listening to all these famous jazz accordionists in the Milwaukee area, polka accordionists in the Milwaukee area. And as the years went on, people retired. You hate to say that they died off, but a lot of the founding members, there's only one original founding member left for the Milwaukee Accordion Club. And so as I was in the club, I got more involved in it. I got on the board and went from a board member to finally a position where somebody asked me if I wanted to be the president. And it's kind of funny, I said, I'll be the president, but I need a lot of good people working in the background to do a lot of the volunteer work, which is basically what clubs are all about. Volunteers make clubs work.
All right, great. So the next one here, I think you're going to need your sheet of paper because I'm going to be asking you about the mission. And actually, if you can kind of repeat the question, you see the question there, so you might want to start out with kind of introducing the topic, and then you can bring in this case, we know that you're going to be reading.
Sure.
That's fine. So what's the mission and purpose of the Accordion Club?
Well, I've been asked a lot of times, what is the mission of the Milwaukee Accordion Club? What is its purpose? And when the club was formed, actually in 1991 the club was formed, and this is the mission statement that they developed. And of course it's a little longer, so bear with me, I'm going to have to read it. Our mission is to stimulate a positive attitude towards the performance of music on the accordion by strengthening relationships with fellow musicians, expanding knowledge of the accordion and accordion playing, and by developing various musical programs to acquaint the general public with the education and entertainment values of the accordion.
All right, great. So you have to set that back down. You can let me know when you need it again. The next question here, again, if you can kind of just introduce or kind of repeat the question here, but the question is, can you share some history and background about the club? How and when was it founded?
Okay, the Accordion Club was founded in 1991. There was about 6 founding members, and they were all professional accordionists. And I guess they had been going to other club events because there are a number of accordion clubs throughout the United States and in Wisconsin. And I guess they felt that it's time to have a club in the Milwaukee area for locals to be able to go and enjoy the merits of the accordion.
Great. So we kind of move on to the membership section next. The question is going to be, again, if you can kind of
Yep.
introduce it. How has the club grown over the years in terms of membership and community engagement?
Okay, the Accordion Club, like the accordion itself, had a lot of members when the club was first founded, and a lot of people were interested in it. Of course, when the 60s and 70s came around and the Beatles got popular and the guitar got more popular, the accordion kind of declined. And so there's a kind of a core group of people that still liked the accordion, want to hear accordion music. And I think that's why the club really caters to those people, because they want to hear accordion music, they like the way the accordion sounds, and it's kind of a social club. It really is. It might have gone away a little bit from when it was first founded into more of a social club, which is fine because people want to hear accordion music, they want to dance to accordion music, and this is one way for these individuals to come out and have fun, and it isn't going to cost them an arm and a leg, and the fees to belong to the club are very reasonable, and if you're a club member, you get to do some of our events and you actually get a discount if you're a club member, so it's an incentive to be a club member. The membership had declined for a while, and I've been telling people that I talked to, because they said, how did you ever get involved in the accordion? So I got a little side story about that. But I just said, the accordion has taken a few generations for people to get rid of that stigma that the accordion is an instrument that you don't even want to be associated with. And young kids now, this generation, they have no idea what an accordion is. And when they see it, they're very intrigued because it has all these bass buttons and it's got piano keys on this side if it's a piano accordion or if it's a concertina or a button box. And they're very intrigued about it, and so they're finally getting back into it. So our club membership is going up. It probably never is going to be the way it was years and years ago, just like the accordion. But the accordion is getting more popular.
All right, kind of same section. What types of individuals typically join the accordion club, and what benefits do they gain from being a member?
Okay, I kind of answered a little bit of that in the last question, but the people that really want to go out and listen to accordion music, people that want to dance, even if they can't dance, they love the way the accordion sounds, and so they want to be entertained, and they can do it very reasonably. So that's the kind of people that want to belong to the accordion club.
All right, and again, if you can kind of intro or repeat the question, how often are meetings, events held?
Our accordion club meets on the fourth Monday of the month, so it's one time a month, the fourth Monday of the month. We are currently meeting at the Root River Center, which is on 72nd and Rawson Avenue, down in Franklin. And it's a nice event, plenty of room for everybody there, and they have food. It's an all-inclusive event place, so we really have a good time there.
Can you explain the fee structure of the club?
Sure. It costs $35 a year to belong to the club. With that $35, you get a discount because you do pay at the door. Obviously, when we have entertainment, most of the time we have to pay for the entertainment that we have that night. And so if we have a lot of people that are not club members, and those people obviously have to pay full price when they get in the door. But as a club member, you get a reduced fee to come to these monthly events. Same thing with our Christmas party, which will be coming up soon. And our picnic, which is normally held in August. And again, it's for the club members or anybody else that wants to come there. And again, it's kind of a 6-hour afternoon event that we really invite everybody that wants to come and have some fun and listen to music.
All right, we're kind of moving on to the next section here about club activities. Again, if you can kind of repeat the question here, what types of events and activities does the Accordion Club organize throughout the year?
Well, the Accordion Club has our monthly events, obviously, and we try to mix it up and get a lot of different genre groups to come in and play different kind of music. It's more of a social club, so that part of it is generally done on a monthly basis. The actual members that are playing, they are the ones that are out there and showing people that there are still accordion players out there, there are still accordion bands, and they're the ones that showcase our club and play for a lot of the events. We've been involved in Makers Fair. I actually do a thing for the 4-H at the state fair, and they have a big fundraiser for 4-H, and I've been helping them for almost 10 years now. I do the entertainment for the people that come for the auction, and it's things like that that you get seen by the public.
All right, I think you just answered the next question here. Are there any significant events or projects the club is particularly proud of? Do you want me to repeat that, or did
I think
got
probably
that?
handled
Okay.
all of that. Yeah, I wasn't
Okay.
sure. I probably should have crossed out some of them,
that's
but
fine. If you want to
I talk and I don't have trouble. You know, I've been doing this for
improvise,
65 years, so I'm a very social and
Yeah.
open guy. I can talk forever. You know.
right? No, we're going to edit this, but that's great. Let's just move on to the next section here,
Sure.
which is the accordion appreciation section. Again, you kind of introduce the topic here, but the first question is, how does the Accordion Club contribute to promoting and appreciating accordion music in the community?
When we have events that are probably public events, we have brochures that we hand out and encourage people to come to our meetings, encourage people to join. And it's just a matter of getting out, whether you're playing at a restaurant or if you're playing at some kind of social event out there. You know, we have beer gardens in the Milwaukee area, so a lot of our members play for beer gardens. This year I was asked to play on the top of the Hone Bridge during the Milwaukee Marathon. And this is a first. We had about 4,700 people walking and running in this marathon, and the gentleman that runs the marathon thought it would be a good idea to have an accordion player at the top of the Hone Bridge playing as the members, or as these runners went by. And it was absolutely amazing how many people stopped running, came up to me and asked me if they could have a selfie with me, or they stopped running and danced the polka. I mean, I played polkas pretty much the whole thing just because it's an upbeat kind of a song, and people took pictures. I said I was probably the most photographed person that day for that Milwaukee Marathon. So that's some of the things, you know, that we can get out, and people are thinking about us and saying maybe that's a cool thing to have an accordion for something different playing.
All right, the next question here is, what efforts does the club make to educate people about the accordion and its musical versatility?
One thing about the accordion, and it's been that way since probably when it was invented, and actually the accordion was invented 100 years ago. People might think the accordion is really, really old, but it really was only invented in the early 1800s. One thing that's interesting about the accordion, as opposed to any other musical instruments, is that the accordion, you have on the right hand, you're playing the melody of the song, and with your left hand, you're playing bass and chords, which would be like if you had a bass player in a band and you would have a rhythm guitar player. So an accordion, because of the parts of the accordion, it sounds like a band, and it's a very versatile instrument.
So let me just make sure I understand. Where you don't have the pink, does that mean that question is probably not?
No, it's probably just going to be me.
Oh, okay. So I guess should
Yep.
still ask it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So again, please repeat the question. In what other cities, countries is accordion music popular?
What other countries and cities are the accordion popular? It's really all over the world, believe it or not. Almost every city in the United States probably has an accordion club. Polkas are really popular in the Ohio area, in northern Wisconsin, but there's accordion bands everywhere in the United States. And actually, the other countries in the world play accordion more than in the United States, believe it or not. China has more accordion players than all the rest of the countries in the world combined. So when you get over into Europe, the accordion is still very, very popular. South America, The accordion is very popular. If you get into the southwestern part of the United States, you get into the Hispanic part of it, so you got the Tejano kind of music and Tex-Mex music. So it is still really popular all over the world, really. And every city in the United States, you probably have accordion players.
All right, this next question here, I'm going to improvise just a little bit.
Sure.
So I have a friend that's got an accordion sitting in his basement. Look at almost brand new, as far as I can tell. He says something about $400.
Yep.
And I've been thinking about playing it. So how again, repeat the question. How difficult is it for anyone to pick up the accordion, especially maybe if you're a little older? How difficult is it to learn to play the accordion?
To learn how to play the accordion, and it doesn't matter whether it's an accordion, a concertina, or a button box, they're a little bit different, but if you're starting from scratch and that's all you're concentrating on is that instrument, it's going to take a little bit. You know, when I learned how to play, I was 10 years old, and I tell everybody, kids are like sponges, and things come to them a lot easier. Adults think about way too much stuff, and they make it harder on themselves than it really needs to be. Because the accordion utilizes both hands, and you also have to pump air in and out of the bellows, so there's a coordination thing. So a lot of times the books, and I have a whole bunch of the original books that I took lessons in 65 years ago, and they'll start out with the right hand, if you're playing a piano accordion, which is similar to a piano. And there's people out there that play instruments, and it really helps if you know how to read music, for one thing. Not that you need it to play the accordion. There's a lot of accordion players out there that just play from memory, and they can't read a bit of music. But it just takes a little bit of coordination. That's probably the hardest thing. I know adults right now that are getting into it, and they said the hardest thing for them is the coordination between the right hand and the left hand playing the bass and chords.
Continuing to improvise a little bit on this
Sure.
question. So I'm kind of a computer, internet, YouTube person. I notice that you go out to YouTube and there's a bunch of people that they'll start from lesson 1 and on, or I'm sure there's music teachers. I'm sure I know that John Martin used to tell me, hey, whenever you want a lesson, I'll teach you. So the question here is, what resources are there available out there for either a young kid or even an adult to how would they get started? Where would they go?
If you're thinking about starting the accordion, or you want to have one of your kids start to learn how to play the accordion, unfortunately there aren't the amount of teachers out there that we used to have back in the 50s. Music schools, I did a big research thing on the accordion, and music schools were kind of formed to sell accordions. The accordions were manufactured in Italy, and they brought them over here, and it's kind of like a car dealership. You want people to buy the accordion, so you have a music school, and the music school had teachers who are also / salesmen. And part of the story is how I learned how to get into playing the accordion was I had a door-to-door salesman come from one of the music schools, and they did it all over the place, and kind of gave me a little aptitude test to see if I was, and of course my parents, my dad played fiddle and my mom played piano up in North Dakota for barn dances and stuff, so they were just thrilled that somebody was actually asking me about whether I wanted to play the accordion or not. So now we have a little shortage of teachers. There just aren't that one-on-one kind of teachers out there. There are far few and in between. And so there are a lot of resources on the internet, and YouTube is a perfect example. There are a number of people that have put accordion lessons on YouTube, and of course the kids, they've been playing computers since they were little, so they're very familiar with being on computers and doing that kind of stuff, and I don't think it's that hard to learn how to play the accordion, especially if you're a little kid. On a side note, my son was here last month with my grandkids, and the oldest one is 8 years old. I gave him a 12-bass accordion, which is the normal accordion that you start lessons on. And I gave him a 12-bass accordion. I gave him the first 3 books that you would use in accordion method, and he was smiling ear to ear. He's 8 years old. He knows his papa plays the accordion, and that papa gave him accordion and encouraged him to learn how to play the accordion. And I just, heard that he's playing it every day. he's so enthralled with playing that accordion that it's going to make me happy if he does learn how to play. I hope it's okay that I'm interjecting.
No, this is great. This
Yeah.
is better than be less scripted here. Explain the cost structure of accordion. How much does accordion cost?
Well, one thing about an accordion actually is made up of thousands of pieces. It's amazing how they can put an accordion together and make all those pieces work in conjunction to one another. I've opened up numerous accordions and looked to see how they're structured and how they work. Accordions can be anywhere from $100 for a used accordion that's 50 years old to an accordion that is made right now in Italy. It can be a $15,000 accordion. The other thing that accordions have evolved is accordion is an acoustic instrument, and it uses wind to blow air through reeds. And now, in the last 20 years, they've developed electronic accordions, digital accordions, and what they do is they sample all the different type of instruments, and you're not only playing an accordion, but you could be playing a violin, you could be playing a piano. They are that good. They sampled those actual instruments, and so another reason that the accordion is popular, because now you're not just playing an accordion, you can play any instrument in the orchestra that you want.
Are young people taking up the accordion?
Occasionally, young people are taking up the accordion. I'm actually surprised myself that when we have some young kids that come into the accordion club with their parents, and their parents have nothing to do with the accordion, they've never played the accordion, and I don't know if the kids just saw an accordion somewhere out in public and asked their parents, what's that all about? You know, can I learn how to play that? And we do have some youngsters in our accordion club that have joined the accordion club with their parents, and they are taking lessons. We have some teenagers who play, let's say, violin, or they play piano, and they know how to read music, and they just think the accordion is kind of cool. So you can go online and buy an accordion for $200 or $300. You don't have a big outlay there, and they're teaching themselves how to play the accordion. And so we are getting some younger people into the club, and it's starting to pick up. But again, it's part of the thing about the accordion hasn't been around for a lot of years, and so it's taken generations for that negative aspect of the accordion. And the young people are really awestruck by it.
The next question I think you've already answered. I kind of jumped ahead on this one. Where can you learn to play the accordion? You talked about the internet, YouTube.
Yeah, we kind of
stuff.
answered that. Yeah.
So next question here is talking about the popularity of accordion. Why has the popularity of the accordion in pop music declined in the United States?
Well, that's kind of a trick question. It declined in pop music back in the 50s and 60s when the guitar became very popular, and you had the Beatles, Rolling Stones, that kind of stuff, and the accordion was kind of looked down upon. Now in pop music, the accordion is actually coming to its own in pop music, in that these bands, E Street Band is a perfect example. There's all kinds of bands out there that have an accordion player. He might be a keyboard player, but he's playing the accordion, and the accordion has a very unique sound. And a lot of these pop bands like the sound of the accordion in the background. So the accordion is coming around more than it was years ago. And again, it's not a super featured instrument in the band, but they're using it for certain songs, and they know that sound in there sounds really good. And so it's actually becoming a little bit more popular in pop bands.
All right, the next couple questions here are dealing with the different types of accordions. We're into concertina and button box. Which ones are harder to play? So maybe kind of just give us the story behind this. Kind of go at your own kind of direction here, but those two extra, or maybe more than two, right? But concertina and button box.
Okay, so people ask me occasionally, what's the difference between an accordion and a concertina and a button box? Concertinas and button boxes are diatonic instruments. In that, when you pull out, it makes one sound. When you push in, it makes another sound. Piano accordions and Mayan accordions are chromatic accordions. If you pull it out and you're pressing the C and you push it in, it's still C. So that's the biggest difference in those instruments. Also the concertina, when you're playing left hand on the concertina, you have a bass button, but then to make a chord, you have to use a number of fingers to form an actual chord like you would if you're playing the piano. When you're playing the piano, you see a piano player and his left hand is spread out and he's actually forming a chord with his left hand. The accordion uses a system called Stradella bass system, and it was invented over in Stradella, Italy, and that bass, all the bass buttons that you see on there look very complicated, but what happens is you play a bass button, but when you go to play the chord is already formed by the chord button. And so you only need one finger to play chord, where the other two types, you know, the button box and the concertina, you actually have to form a chord with 3 fingers. So again, whatever instrument you learn on, you actually know how to play it that way. So that's how you learn how to play it. Sometimes it's a little interesting, and we know people that can play the accordion, and they can play the concertina, and they can play a button box. And you have to really think about what you're doing. You know, I tell people that when I'm playing the accordion, my fingers have memory. And they say, how do you know all these songs? I says, you play them long enough, your fingers know where to go. You're not even thinking, because the fingers have this memory in there and they know how to play where they need to play.
So which one is harder to play, or which one is easiest to play?
People ask me about which instrument is easiest to play, and honestly, whatever instrument that you pick up and you learn how to play, that instrument is going to be easy for you to play. But transitioning from an accordion to a concertina, it's like night and day. It's a little bit different because you're pressing buttons, and the diatonic part is probably the hardest thing for an accordionist to try to get used to. So I wouldn't say there's one instrument that's harder than the other to play. It's just whatever you're used to, you get used to playing that accordion.
There's 3 or 4 more questions here on this topic here. The one thing I'm finding, just kind of side note, is this is going to be great because if you remember when I first introduced the idea here and what we're going to do, you know, the video we're going to do for the promotional video, if you will not be that long. But since we've got some really good stuff here, what I want to do is I want to have some longer things for people that are more interested in a lot of the information you're talking about, that don't want to sit there for a 5-minute, that don't want to sit past a 5-minute, so I'm going to, this will be great. I'll be able to, put these out into the little website library or links or playlist or whatever we're going to end up with. Obviously, you can get these on video files and do whatever you want with them too.
Sure.
But this will, what I guess my point is that by getting into the details here, you're not, I'm not going to just edit this and delete that or not use that. I think in the end we'll have a longer couple pieces here for some informational stuff. That's pretty cool. So let me continue on again. If you're doing a great job repeating the question. So repeating the question. So what types of music do accordion players play? I think of polka, but I'm sure there's a lot more going on. Can you kind of give us the story behind the types of music with accordions?
Yeah, people have asked me over the years, when I tell them that I play the accordion, the first thing that they say is, "Oh, do you have a polka band?" Because there's a lot of people out there that are stereotypically thinking that if you play the accordion, that's all you play is polkas. And I love polkas, and I love really all kinds of music. And I play ballroom dance music. And if you've ever watched the dancers on TV and watching them, they can be doing a cha-cha, they can be doing swing, they can be doing all these different dance routines and stuff. And the accordion is well suited to play just about any type of music. In my particular case, I play just about every genre that's out there in music. And when I do a program for people, I mix it up. I might play a couple of polkas, then I'll play some Latin, I'll play country. And because I have a digital accordion, if I'm playing country music, I'll put a guitar on there, because your mind thinks, okay, I'm listening to country music. You don't hear too many accordion players playing country music, so I want to hear a guitar. So I put the guitar sound on my accordion. Now, how much more versatile can you have an instrument that can sound, if I'm doing a sing-along tune, I'll put a honky-tonk piano on, because a lot of my audience, they're older and they remember the honky-tonk piano, and so I'm playing a song with the honky-tonk piano and their mind just goes back. So the accordion is very versatile in that way, and I really don't like when people say you must have a polka band. I says I play polkas, but I have an all-occasion band. I can play just about any genre that you want to hear.
So I guess this kind of leads into me to add a little, the bands you've played in, when you think of a band that has accordions, and you kind of give us a little more detail of it's not necessarily just, this or that, but what other types of instruments generally play with accordions?
Well, there's a lot of different bands out there that have accordion players in them, and generally most bands will be a trio or a four-piece band, and you'll have your accordion. Obviously you've got drums, maybe a rhythm guitar in the background, and then you'll have a horn player that'll either play saxophone and clarinet. And with those four instruments, you can be very versatile. And you get into some of the Cleveland style polka bands, they might have 7 or 8 members in there, and their music lends well to having 2 or 3 trumpet players playing in harmony, and they might even have a tuba player. But most bands will have just 3 or 4 instruments in there, and like I said earlier, the type of instruments that are in there. Because the accordion, you don't really need a piano player in the background. You've already got that sound. The accordion player is generally playing the lead for the song, and the other instruments are the backup instruments for the band.
Tell me about any famous accordion players have you met over the years? Do you know any? Ever meet Lawrence Welk? Do you know have you met any famous accordion players?
When I'm playing out there, people have asked me if I know any famous accordion players, and for many, many years, they said, well, can you play a Lawrence Welk tune? Of course, I can play a lot of Lawrence Welk tunes because he played all the different popular songs in the era with his orchestra. I never met him personally. Dick Contino, everybody probably has heard of Dick Contino, and he was a premier accordionist, started playing when he was about 10 years old. He was on the radio when he was 12. He is probably one of the greatest known accordionists. I met him at Festa Italiana in Milwaukee here, and he would play every year, and he was such a great guy. He'd come out and talk to you, and so I was introduced to him and got to meet him. I have a really good friend that is a world champion. His name is Corey Pesaturo, and he became the world champion at age 21, and he is a phenomenal accordion player, and he really is interesting to talk to. I've had him stay at my house here, and he's performed for our club, and those are probably a couple of the major world-renowned accordion players that I have met.
This next one I think you kind of answered or had talked about a little bit, but if you'd like to expand on this, do you play often? Do you have your own band?
When I play out, people say, how often do you play? And I said, believe it or not, I was an electrician for 35 years, but I played almost every weekend back then in wedding bands. And played hundreds and hundreds of weddings. And I retired about 15 years ago from the electrical industry. And of course, when you're retiring young, you got to find something to do. And I realized that there was people playing at senior communities, which are really getting very popular, assisted living, long-term care facilities, and they do have a program where they hire, not necessarily all accordionists, but they hire people to come in and do a program for their residents. And pre-pandemic, I was doing about 200 gigs a year. And when you realize there's only 365 days in a year and I'm doing 200 gigs, it was a lot. So the pandemic, it went from 200 to 0. And I was very fortunate that I was able to do some Zoom performances for some of these facilities that had internal TV systems. And through the internet, I played in my living room in front of my fireplace and did these Zoom concerts. And so I was able to still keep playing during the pandemic because they were shut in, we were shut out. And I played outside in the parking lots. They had the people by the windows, you know, just to keep it that way. But I am playing about 100 gigs a year, and that's a lot.
All right, so we're moving on to the next section here, challenges and successes. So the first question here deals with challenges at the Accordion Club, what they have faced, and how have they addressed some of those challenges?
The Accordion Club, again, was formed back in 1991. I think the challenge is just keeping the Accordion Club where people are interested in belonging to the Accordion Club and trying to get new people to join the Accordion Club. And our Accordion Club has, again, kind of evolved into more of a social club where people that love accordion music, love music in general, like dancing. Our Accordion Club is a perfect venue for that because you get to hear accordion music, you get to hear some of the bands. Sometimes we have bands that come from out of state and people know those bands, and so we'll get more people coming to our events because they specifically come to hear some of the groups that we have playing for them. So the biggest thing is getting, you know, our membership to come back up, and it is, and I'll give a lot of credit to a lot of volunteers in our club that go out and really talk the club up and getting more people. You know, I encourage people all the time when I'm playing, they go, well, where are you playing next? And I'm like, well, you know, we meet once a month and we have all kinds of groups. You know, give them the information and tell them, come on down, you can come in and check it out, and you don't have to be a member. You can, you know, see what's going on and have a lot of fun.
So you may have just covered this, but let me ask you, any specific notable successes, milestones the club has achieved under your leadership and your team?
I think the main thing that I like about being in the club is, you know, when people hear that I'm the president, oh my God, what do you do just to be the president? And the president of the United States has hundreds of people making him look good, you know. The president of most organizations, it's all about the members that do a lot of the work for the club. And I don't care if it's a Milwaukee Accordion Club or whatever club you want to belong to, whatever organization you belong to, volunteers is really the important thing to keep any kind of group together. And I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of people under me in the club that are my friends and are willing to do whatever it takes to do the side work to keep the club going, whether it's the newsletter, whether it's hiring bands for the future, that kind of thing.
All right, so last section here, almost last section here, collaboration and partnership. So let's see here, the first question is, does the Accordion Club collaborate with other musical or community organizations? If so, how have these collaborations benefited the club?
Yeah, trying to figure out if our club has coordinated with a lot of different organizations. Because the club is generally a social club and it meets monthly and it's basically for the membership. I think how the Accordion Club gets out and deals with other organizations is through the membership that play for all these different events. And like I mentioned earlier in the interview of some of the things that I did personally, people know, you know, and the first thing I tell them is I'm the president of the Milwaukee Accordion Club. We have a group that we get together. But as far as the organization itself, I think it's more dependent on the individual members that go out there and play for the public, and then word of mouth, you know, they'll have our flyers out there, and word of mouth is telling people, we are the Milwaukee Accordion Club, I'm a member of it, come on and join the club.
All right, and next section here, maybe you can kind of expand on this because I think we've kind of covered some of this, but tell me a little more about it, if you can expand on how you've seen the world of accordion music evolve during your time with the club. Are there trends, innovations in accordion music that the club is particularly excited about?
Well, I've been playing the accordion for 65 years, and I started playing weddings back in the 60s. And the accordion was very popular in the 50s and 60s. And I don't know that you ever played or went to a wedding that didn't have an accordion band in it. That was our mainstay, is playing for weddings. As things kind of developed, the accordions kind of went down a little bit in popularity, and DJs took over the weddings. You know, if I play for a wedding now, a lot of times the people go, well, can you come and play dinner music for 2 hours, you know, and that's fine with me. I'll play my 2 hours, and they love it because I'm playing all the songs that, you know, their grandmother, their parents, you know, they love all that kind of music. And probably getting off track a little bit, but the accordion is just getting more popular very slowly. And again, I think part of it is that the accordion just was kind of in the shadows for how many generations. And now people are just realizing they're finding their grandparents' accordion or their parents' accordion. And I don't know how many people have told me, geez, I think I would like to try to learn how to play the accordion. I got my grandmother's accordion here. And so it's, in that respect, it's coming around. Never going to be like it was in the 40s and 50s, but it is definitely coming around, and it makes me feel good to see that people are interested in the accordion again. Okay, well, I've put on one of my accordions, and this is actually a digital accordion. It's a MIDI digital accordion, and Roland, everybody recognizes the name Roland. And one of the things that they ask me is like, how on earth do you know what to do with all these buttons on this side? And this accordion is called a piano accordion. So if you're familiar with a piano, obviously this looks like a piano keyboard, and that's a little different than a concertina or button box, which just by the virtue of the name button, they use buttons instead of piano keys. And a chromatic accordion uses buttons as well. It's basically the same as this, but instead of having a piano keyboard, it has a button keyboard. The left hand is played exactly the same. People go, how can you figure out how to play an accordion? Well, you know, again, I started out 65 years ago with a 12-bass accordion, so just take 1/10 of the 120 basses that are on here, and now you've just got 12 basses to work with. And what they're doing with those 12 basses is they're getting you to, first of all, figure out which finger works the bass button and which finger works the chord button, and then they're teaching you how to pull or push the accordion. Now this accordion is not an acoustic accordion, so I don't have to really go crazy with the bellows because I'm not pushing air through reeds like an acoustic accordion. They have a little sensor built into this accordion that can feel how hard I'm pulling or pushing, and it really changes the accent of the accordion. When I turn this accordion on, it sounds like a regular accordion. And then your bass, probably anybody that's heard a regular acoustic accordion, that's what you hear. You're hearing the bass, and here's the chord. And this system, the Stradella system, you have a major, minor, seventh, diminished. Where on a concertina, all of these buttons up here, you have to use these 3 fingers to make that chord, where the Stradella system, it forms the chord for you, and it just takes 1 finger to operate it. These are called register buttons for the accordion, and you can have different sounds. You can go all the way from a bassoon sound on here. So it's a real muted sound, and a lot of jazz music utilizes that bassoon sound. I'm going to go to a master sound on here, and again, all of these different names, bassoon or master, on a normal acoustic accordion, you'd have a number of different blocks inside here that hold all of the reeds. And to get different sounds, they have different combinations of reeds to get a different sound. So now this, you can already hear the difference. And generally a master is what you use for polkas. And if you get over in Europe, now you get a lot of musette sounds on here, and I call it more of a European sound. So that's basically, and that was a waltz tempo that I just did there, but you can hear the difference totally with the reed sounds on an accordion. And the more register buttons that you have on here, the more combinations of reeds in an acoustic accordion you would have available to you. Now this digital accordion, what they've done is they've incorporated, and you probably had kids that you bought a little keyboard for years ago, and it had all these different sounds on it, and the kids had fun playing this little mini keyboard. Well, about 20 years ago they finally figured out how to put that into an accordion. I started playing an electronic accordion in the late 60s, early 70s, and it was called a Accordovox. And what they did is they took a Lowry organ. Lowry is a big organ manufacturer back then, and they figured out how to put a Lowry organ in it looks like an amplifier box, and then they put little switches underneath here, and so you were not only playing an acoustic accordion, but you had the sound of Lowry organ in the background. That's how they first started out. Well, now they've digitized everything, and you have these sounds in the accordion that what they do is they sample whatever instrument it is, whether it's a clarinet, a piano, violin. They'll sample every note on that instrument, save it into the computer inside this accordion. And so when you are playing this accordion, you are actually playing that instrument. Now this is just, it's not an accordion anymore. It's a way that you're playing that instrument. And so I'm just going to show you really quick what they did is, now I just hit some buttons on here, and I went from acoustic bass to an orchestral bass on here, and probably, so you can hear, now I'm playing electronic guitar, bass guitar, with a little bit of drums in the background. Can you hear the cymbals in the background a little bit? And then here's so there's a little bit of drums there as well, and your rhythm guitar. So now I've just created 3 instruments over here that I'm playing with 2 fingers, and I'm going to hit another button here. There's 3 different buttons on here. You can either play accordion sounds, you can play orchestral sounds, or you can play organ. And it has just a tremendous amount of organ sounds on here. So I'm just going to see what kind of sound I can come up with on here. So here's just strings. They call it strings. So if you've heard an orchestra playing some Christmas music or whatever, where you've got 40 violins. Your string sound. Here's a little bit of a jazz guitar if you want to do a little jazz music. So it sounds like a jazz guitar. See what else we got. Here's the violin. And maybe you want to play for your church. Now you can put an organ sound on here, And let's see what we've got to choose from here. Another nice feature, you can combine the accordion and an orchestral sound or an organ sound. So if you want to have the accordion sound on here, so now I just put the bass bassoon on here, and I'm going to put the same organ sound. So now you're going to be playing accordion and organ at the same time. Which is kind of what I was talking about the quarter box back in the late 60s and early 70s. So now you've got your organ and your accordion built in. Go back to see if I can find my I just found a natural piano. New York, New York. I sound like a four-piece band, and you're just playing the accordion. So that's the nice thing about what they've done. This is probably one of the greatest things in my opinion, because I play out so much and I play such a variety of music, and I play for ballroom dance groups. I've played for just about everything you can think of, from a baptism to a funeral and everything in between. And it allows you to change the accordion to fit whatever venue that you're playing for. And again, that's why the accordion is so versatile. Even without all the digital stuff, you still have your left hand where you're playing bass and chords, and right hand you're playing the lead to the song. So it's a one-man band, whether it's an acoustic accordion or a digital accordion.
All right, that was amazing.
I figured you would be amazed.
I gotta admit, I started with John Martin, and I mainly hang around the concertina guys.
I know.
So I didn't even know. This is really
That
impressive.
I did this on purpose because I know exactly what you just said. When I saw what you had for videos and that kind of stuff, I said, yeah, John's been hanging around the concertinas and the polka people, and he doesn't really realize what else is out there. And
Well, I'm joining on Monday, so I'm joining the club. And,
yeah.
and I'll have to attend. Actually, I bring my dad is 91. We went to, who was the guy that was really good accordion player? Played a lot of different accordions. It was probably about 6 months ago. He was there. I think he was, I don't know if he was from Europe or whatever, but he was really good. He played.
He was at our accordion club?
Yeah, it was one of the events. Kind of a younger guy.
And he played different accordions.
Well, he had 4 or 5 of them up there that he was kind of mixing. Elaine was one of the. She started out with the button box, and he kind of got in, and she was the warm-up band.
Where was I? I honestly, I wish I could remember who that was.
It was probably at least 6 months, maybe earlier, a year ago, or not even.
And it might have been when I was in Florida, because I had a home in Florida, and
okay.
So 5 months out of the year I was down in Florida, and so Pam kind of, you know, and so I did miss some of the groups that was in there.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with it. I mean,
Yeah.
And John Martin did have an accordion, which he played.
Of course. And